The name of the show is Brutally Honest with Jasmine Brand. I feel like your book is brutally honest.
Okay.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Did you initially plan to get that deep, or did it just kind of unfold as you were going through the process?
No, I set the intention to get that deep because I thought it was the only real way to tell my story. I mean, if anybody out there has read celebrity memoirs, a lot of them can be quite hollow. Like you feel like they're really trying to make themselves look good.
Yeah.
I did not go into that with this intention. I went into it with wanting to give people a deeper understanding of who I was and what has shaped me. And some of those things that did shape me are not easy things to discuss. I also know that, especially in our community, there's an incredible amount of shame over some things. Obviously, I talk in the book at length about my mother's addiction. There's a lot of shame over abortion, which is why I disclosed that I had an abortion. So I wanted to make sure to give people sort of a sense of empowerment in talking about these things. So maybe that we can start to talk about them differently than we have been.
Okay. Your mother is a really big part of this book. She went through a lot.
Yes,
we were talking about earlier. She is she makes me so proud, and she's not my mom. Like she's been through all that. And when you started the book, or when you talked to her about it initially, was she apprehensive? Because you really share a lot about her.
Well, she actually wasn't.
Okay.
She said, "Hey, this is your story."
Okay.
And I know that she told me she knows that our stories are very much intertwined, but she felt like I had the right to share my perspective. Now, that doesn't mean that she necessarily agrees with all of the perspective, but she felt like the very least that I deserve was being able to share how I really felt about things. And look, at this point, my mother already in her life has felt very judged.
Yes.
And so she is, in her mind, she's like, what worse can they say about me that hasn't already been said? And, obviously the public, until basically I went on this book tour, did not know her.
Right.
But within our own family, within some of our, some of her close friend circles, she's felt that judgment.
Yeah.
And so that's why she was just like, this stuff isn't going to bother me.
I don't even know y'all, so who cares?
Exactly.
I have people in my family and friends and stuff that have been through the same things as your mother and you and stuff like that. And you have forgiven your mother. But I'm wondering, was it easier for you to forgive your mother because she's turned her life around, she's on the other side of it? Do you think, she was still sort of battling some of these things? It'd be hard. Because I'm asking that because there are people that still have family members that are still battling addiction. And so how do,
I would say that it's easier to forgive people when they're accountable. Even though it took my mother a lot of stops and starts with her addiction. And, because her last relapse was like in 2009 or 10.
That's a while ago.
Yeah, it's a while ago.
Yeah.
Actually, it was. I think it was a little after my grandmother. My grandmother had a stroke, and it was very severe, and she died within a few months. And when she had the stroke, it was so traumatic for my mother because she discovered her. And my grandmother had been in her house for a few days and had a stroke. I think it was like 2 days she might have been in her house, and she didn't pick up the phone. So when my mother went over there, she saw her, let's just say, I don't want to get too descriptive, in a very horrific condition.
Yeah.
All right. And so that sent my mother back into a dark, place. And so, but she's always been honest and forthright about anything, and so because of that transparency, her accountability, it made it that much easier for me to forgive her, which I did many years ago.
Right.
The question that I always have for her is, has she forgiven herself? And I don't think she has. I think that's going to be the hardest part for her to overcome in all of this.
Yeah, because I saw the clip of her doing when you all did the Red Table Talk, and I felt like she was still, it's something like it's a day-to-day sort of thing if she's able to kind of forgive herself and give herself grace and stuff like that. It very
much is. And, her and Gammy, Jada's mom, had a moment over that because they both, and this is why I think that conversation was really powerful and really healing for my mother, is, all she's thinking about is the things she missed. And not really like plays or things like that. My mother was there all the time because I was with her, but she doesn't feel like she was present enough. And not only that, I think she looks at what her addiction cost in terms of our relationship. My mother still thinks that we have some, we have some unhealed trauma in our relationship. And because of that, she feels like at times I distance myself from her. We're not as close as we could be, even though on my end of it, I don't really see it that way.
Yeah.
But I think she's just very sensitive to it. And until she can kind of get to a true place of forgiveness, I think it's going to be a bit of touch and go in terms of whether or not she forgives herself.